Hi, I'm Mike. Welcome back to the shop. Today we're going to be installing speed bleeders on the 72 Corvette and bleeding the entire system. This is the hardware we're going to install in order to upgrade the brakes with speed bleeders. We need 3 packages of the Russell part number 639530. And that's a 5/16 inch fitting with 24 threads per inch. And we need 3 of those because we need 1 bleeder on each of the 2 front calipers and 2 bleeders on each of the rear calipers. So need 3 packages in order to get 6 of these. The speed bleeder bag I'm going to use because I'm sick and tired of getting any sort of leakage of brake fluid on my car and on my floor, and I'm going to see how this works. This is part number 639500 for the speed bleeder bag. Before you begin the bleeding process, make sure you have enough DOT3 brake fluid on hand. Next step is to make sure that you have enough brake fluid in your master cylinder. If not, please top it off. Also, make sure that your brake fluid, you can see the bottom of the master cylinder. If you have some cloudy brake fluid, it's probably a good idea to basically drain the entire brake system and refill it with brand new brake fluid. One thing you should consider when you are doing the brake bleeding is leave the cover of the master cylinder on. You will get some bubbling of the brake fluid, and you don't want to have it spill all over the brake or the engine compartment or onto your paint. So just, you don't have to tighten it down, but just put the cover on so that it doesn't spray all over the place. You will come back and add more brake fluid as you drain or as you push brake fluid through your system. Additionally, since this is a dual master cylinder, we're going to be doing the bleed process in 2 separate stages. The rear part of the cylinder is for the rear brakes and the front part of the cylinder is for the front brakes. I'm going to start on the rear brakes. That's the more difficult portion for the Corvette because of the 2 bleed nipples on the back of the Corvette. So we're going to start with that, and always a good idea to start from the furthest wheel from the master cylinder. So in this case, since the master cylinder is on the driver's side, we're going to go to the rear passenger side to start our bleeding process. And the reason for doing that is if you start closest to the cylinder, you have the possibility of trapping air in the system that won't come out. So if you bleed the driver's side first, that air may travel over to the passenger side and then back to the driver's side as you're bleeding. So get rid of the air, as much air as possible, by starting at the furthest from the master cylinder, and that again is the passenger side. Okay, the next thing you need to do is get your car up on jacks and remove the rear wheel. Safety first, always block your wheels so that the car doesn't roll on you, and use a nice sturdy jack stand. So the next step is before actually doing the brake bleeding, check how good your flexible lines are. If you've just recently bought your Corvette, and don't know the last time the brakes were done, or if it looks like the brake hoses are old, this would be a really good time to change your flexible brake lines. And the reason why is flexible brake lines will age over time, and they'll swell. And what you'll end up having happen is when you apply the brakes, if the inside of the brake line has gone from the design diameter to something that's smaller, or even closing up, as you press the brake, it will open with the pressure and get the fluid to the brake, and then once the pressure is taken off the line, it will squeeze back. Well, guess what? Problem there is the pressure has been applied to the cylinder, the brake cylinder, and when the pressure is removed, the pressure upstream from the master cylinder still has been removed, but the pressure is still inside the brake caliper and the cylinder inside the brake, and the brake stays applied to your rotor, and you end up basically getting a hung up brake. So trust me on this. Take a look at your flexible lines, replace them. It's cheap insurance, 20 bucks per pair of wheels, and you're done. So good time to do that. So make sure your hoses are replaced and in good repair. And the next step we're going to do is to remove the brake bleeders, the existing brake bleeders on both sides, and we're going to install our speed bleeders. Okay, to remove the original bleeders, you'll need a 5/16 inch wrench. I recommend you use a box wrench. Spin them out as quickly as you can. You're going to get some leakage here, and then turn in the new brakes as quickly as, or the new bleeders as quickly as possible. There you go. All right. Take that off. And then just tighten it up. So not too much of a mess. Okay, I haven't tightened them up completely. There's no need. The bleeders as they are, the speed bleeders, won't let any further fluid come out because of the way that they're designed. I'll do the same thing on the inside caliper, the inside of the caliper. There's another bleeder here. I'm going to tighten up the inboard side and seat it. That's so that only the outboard side bleeder will bleed when I do the bleeding process. Okay, that's seated. You don't have to tighten it too tightly. I'm going to seat this one, and then I'm going to back it off about a full turn. Okay, that's seated, full turn. There's a quarter, another quarter, another quarter, and there's a full turn. Okay, the next step is to hook up the speed bleeder bag. What I really like about this is the bag side is sealed off. This is a nice rubber hose. The rubber hose does a real nice job of going over the bleeder itself. So it's a low mess type of an approach. Now what I'm going to do, since I have this off a full turn, I'm going to go into the car and start pressing on the brake pedal. And again, the check valve inside of the speed bleeder will pop off the seat when I push the pressure on, and then when I release the brake pedal, it'll pop back onto the seat and seal that off. So we'll see the fluid coming in. It'll go into the bag, and it should be an easy process. Okay, now we just tighten it up. And there's the brake fluid in the bag. I probably pumped it 10, 15 times, somewhere in that range. But nice and neat. When this is done, I can unhook the hose and just push it out, and I'll save the bag for the future. Okay, now for the inboard bleeder. I've backed off a whole turn using the 5/16 inch wrench on the inside, got the hose hooked up, it's ready to go. I'm going to give you a close-up of the hose so you can see the fluid coming through and any of the air that's also in the line. Hopefully that gives you a good enough view. Now go pump the brakes. Okay, that was 10 pumps. I'm going to tighten this back up and then go to the other side. Okay, what you're looking at now is the inboard side of the front passenger tire. I don't have to take the tire off in order to get to the calipers, so I'm not going to do that. I'm going to see how well this works. As you can see, there's the bleeder. This is the caliper, that's the tire, and this is the rim, just to orient you. So what I'm going to do, like I did before, is take off the bleeder and put take off the old bleeder and put the new speed bleeder in place. And again, there's only one bleeder on the front calipers. There, not too bad, not too messy. I'm going to now turn this in so that it seats all the way to the bottom. I don't need to use the box wrench, I can use the open end.
I'll use my hands too.
Okay, that's seated. Now I'm going to back it off about a full turn. There's a third, 2, 3. Okay, so the speed bleeder is now installed and it's backed off. I just hook up the speed bleeder bag. There we go, and then pump away. I'll give it about 10 pumps. That seems to be working pretty well. And we'll see how this works. I'm going to give you a close-up view if I can. And then tighten it back up. All right, final top off of the front. You can see the back is almost topped off. I'll hit that too. And then I'll put the cover back on, and then we're done with this brake bleeding job. Okay, about an eighth of an inch, quarter of an inch to the top. There we go. Good. Put the top on. Tighten it up. Wipe off any spillage, just in case. That is the easiest brake bleeding job I have ever done. Well, I gotta tell you, that's the easiest brake bleeding job I have ever done. No mess, very simple. It was quick. I could do it myself. Had a lot of confidence that I got everything out. I've now got it all tightened up, and I've stepped on the brake pedal. It's the stiffest this has ever been on this car. So I think it was pretty successful. I'm excited. You know, there's other ways of doing brake bleeding, and certainly there's other equipment to do this. I think there's some real advantages to this way, because all you need is a bag to bleed the fluid into, and that's it. So not a whole lot of storage to worry about. Simple tool. All you need is a 5/16 inch wrench, and it doesn't get any simpler than that. So I'm a big believer now. I'll end up putting these types of bleeders on my Spitfire as well. So if you like what you're seeing, please subscribe, and I've got more projects on the way.